Super mega, oops, spoiler, super mega Planche de Belfi. They climb up there. They're going to push some ladies, or the ladies jump off the plank to save themselves from being raped. That's the mythic story, the wonderful family mythic story of the Planche de Belfi. Stage 7, Tomblaine, La Super Planche de Belfi, mega pint, mega blanche. We got it all. And so like yesterday, crazy shit going on. Wout goes up the road. People are wondering about his tactics. Today, it's going to be a completely different thing. Roglic is hurt. He's got Vinigo, and you've got Pogacar up there. As Pogacar is now in yellow, is he going to just ravage everything? Is Nelson Palace going to be able to get into it? Are we going to have a break? Stay away. We got a lot of those little scenarios we're going to break through. We're going to talk about, do a quick little thing here. But it was finally, the tour, to me, takes off, and we've got some wonderful things happening. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. I had to, and once again, I'm dressed for court. I'm back already, but I had to drive to court. So I'm listening, watching in my car. It was really intense, and I barely made it to the restroom. That's how intense it was. Maybe it's what I drank for breakfast. Okay, let's get right into it. I don't want to spoil. Once again, we're gonna we'll look at the chart here showing the route, and you had a big Cat 3, you had a sprint, you had a big Cat 3, then you had another Cat 3 in here, some uncategorized climbs in the midst, and then this Super Planche, which was intense. If you remember back, I think the first time they did it was 2012. Chris Froome, and I'm gonna bring up a thing about the Planche here, but pretty intense gradients here, 20 some %. And when you look at the last 1 kilometer, it kind of pitches off and it's a little flat, and then it has a little gravel. You're like, hey, if there's a break, hint, this guy's got it, right? No. Oh boy. 20 some %. And it was a killer. And you can see, like, in the last kilometer, you could lose all your time in the last kilometer. And one of the guys that finished up there near the top 3, looks like he loses, 20 some seconds in 20 meters or so. Before we jump right there, let me move this off here, and I'm going to share a different tab. We're going to talk about the Planche de Belfi, the legend. The legend, beautiful means beautiful girls. Okay, it's a place inhabited with nice beech trees, and what's the local folk etymology in contrast holds. The mountain took its name from the 30 Years' War. According to legend, young women from the Plancher Le Mans fled the mountains to escape Swedish mercenaries. Those Swedish mercenaries are always the worst. As they feared being raped and massacred. Rather than surrender, they decided to commit suicide and jumped into a lake far below. One of the soldiers then took a board with which his dagger he engraved an epitaph to the beautiful girls, a wooden statue created by a local artist as a reminder of the legend. Sorry. So here's the real story. This is the legend. What really happened was the mercenaries got the girls drunk. They drove them up there. They probably raped them first, and then they threw them over the top, and then they created this story. Let's be real. That's exactly what happened. La Planche de Belfi was first used to finish stage 7 in the 2012 Tour de France. Same route, I think. Tomblaine to 199 kilometers. Today was a little bit less than that. It was won by Chris Froome. Team Sky teammate Bradley Wiggins takes the race lead. They did not go over the super steep section, though. The steep finish proved popular as it quickly became a popular climb among cycling fans. The climb has since been used frequently. In 2014, it was the finish stage 10, and won by then race leader Vincenzo Nibali. In 2017, and remember 2014, that they came off cobbles. Then Chris Froome crashed the day before the cobbles. I think he broke his wrist or had to go in to get X-rays. Then he actually crashes again before they even hit the cobbles on that day, and he abandoned. So then Vincenzo Nibali comes in 2017 and won in 2014. 2017, it was stage 5 of the tour, with Fabio Aru winning by 16 seconds over Dan Martin and Chris Froome taking the yellow. featured again in 2019 by Dylan Toombs. And that day, Giulio Ciccone took the yellow jersey. If you remember, Ciccone takes the yellow jersey on that day. And I think the next day, he's looking to hold it. And they had some of these kickers coming in on the next day. And that's where Alaphilippe, I believe, he gets up the road, ends up taking the yellow jersey away from Ciccone. But you can take a look here at some of the, and then obviously the stage 20 time trial by Tadej Pogacar. Look, what Roglic loses today, he would have loved to have only lost this amount to Pogacar back in 2020. So we've I'm going to spoil it here because it's already got the 2022 update, but Chris Froome, Bradley Wiggins takes yellow, Nibali, Chris Abreu, Dylan Toombs, and Ciccone. So it's interesting here. Froome, he wrote it up today. He's not the Chris Froome of old. Bradley Wiggins got kind of pushed out of his team after taking yellow there a few years later. Fabio Aru, kind of a downturn. So, it's got mixed bag, but very popular people winning on this stage where the women got raped and pushed off the side. That's right. Okay, so let's walk right through the stage details. We're going to go through the YouTube, and we'll mute it here before we can do that because I just don't want to get a copyright strike that I think would be unwarranted anyway. Hang on here. I don't know what's up with my voice. I've had some issues lately. A lot of phlegm happening. Got sick a while ago. It's just never really cleared up. I don't know what the problem is. Okay, so just a little bit they do a little bit of obviously recap here, showing yesterday's stage win. Once again, Tadej Pogacar takes it over. Was there any fallout of the Bettiol thing? No, that looks like that the whole situation has been kind of mended. It's been interesting to see. That was from stage 5 and the cobbles. It's been interesting to see, however, some of the reporters and some of the podcasts I've listened to try to justify and give excuses, and the team maybe overblowing it a bit. But I think I don't think there was any ill will by Bettiol there. I just think he didn't know what the heck was going on, and he was stupid. And it was a mistake. That's just all there is to it on that one. But why did Wout take off yesterday? I think it was actually a good tactic for the team. He probably didn't want to, they're going to chase yesterday. So he gets up the road. It'd be better to have a bigger group. But he gets up the road. Jumbo's not going to chase and defend his yellow jersey anyway. So this is kind of his throng at trying to protect it himself. He's going to lose it on the Planche de Belfi anyway. Then it made UAE chase today. So that's what exactly happened. So today you get a bigger break. That was including that yesterday. Here's the route we had today. You get a decent sized break. Kamna's in there, Schachmann, Asgreen, Erverti, who else? Geschke, Toombs, Pedersen, Ciccone, Luke Durbridge. Ciccone didn't do as well as I expected him to. Remember, he hung on with Dylan Toombs a few years ago with 2019 for the yellow jersey that day. So UAE, they pull a guy back from the break. They're chasing all day. Mads Pedersen takes the early sprint. Wout actually takes some more time. Geschke's getting some KOM. I think you ended up seeing Magnus Kort stay in the polka dot jersey, however, today, but that's going to be pretty tenuous coming up here fairly shortly. Team was on it all day. They hit the final climb, and Schachmann had been doing a bunch of work for Kamna. So Schachmann ends up getting that as Kamna takes off with Durbridge, Dylan Toombs, Geschke, and himself, obviously. And pretty soon, Geschke takes off, and then Kamna takes off after him. So here's Geschke going, and then the chase behind. So it's right around 8 kilometers climb to the finish. And they have about a minute, as you can see here, about a minute 13. And Kamna comes up to him, up to Geschke, and then goes through. And he holds that gap between a minute 10 to 49, 50 seconds, almost all the way to the first finish, okay? And then you start to have, which is, and the teams are lining up here in the back. One you start to see early coming off is there's always going to be this first day in the mountains. One person is going to get shelled off that, had high hopes, right? And I was actually thinking it'd be Roglic because he's been talking about how his body is really kind of messed up. If you saw the wreck, there was another post I saw of someone that took a picture on the side of the road, and he's literally upside down hitting it. And obviously, separates his shoulder. It's a pretty big deal. So his body's banged up. But Vlasov ends up losing a little bit of time. You can see in this picture here that Rigoberto Urán in the pink is holding on there, but Nilson Palace starts to dangle in the last 2 Ks or so. They hit the last K, and it's as they come through kind of the old start finish here, and 750 meters from what Kamna has. And Tade is done with his team. He'd had great work. It was early on, it was Brandon McNulty. Then it was George Bennett. And then Rafa Micah, as you can see here, is pulling off, kind of gives him the elbow. And Pogacar hits it out. We'll run it here just a tad bit. As you can see them going up, hitting the dirt. And you can see Kamna suffering like a dog. Once again, they stopped doing the clock here because it's hard to tell in the dirt, but he had 40 seconds going in. He's trying to stand up out of the saddle. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. Right here, Jonas takes off, and let's see if we can see. He attacks. I think it's meters to go here, but Kamna digging deep, heading over the handlebars, trying to keep the tires from slipping out. That's 100 meters there. So Jonas hits out probably around 200 meters. So there's the time bonus. And then Roglic ends up coming in third, Kamna for fourth. And Louis Menches pushes his bike, gets off it for some reason, and pushes his bike over the finish line for, I don't know, he's down their ways for like top 15 or so. So you had Pogacar, Vinigo in second place, Geraint Thomas. This is the general. Let's see if we go back here to the stage. There we go. Vinigo, Roglic in third place. So they each get time bonuses. I think it's 10, 6, and 4. Kamna coming in fourth, holding on really strong. I mean, dude did great until that last 700 meters. What are you going to do? Geraint Thomas, just a bit of a gap there to 14 seconds, comes in with Kamna. David Gaudu for Groupama. Thibaut was one that came off. He grew up in this area. I think he has goats in this area and a little goat farm. I don't know if he still lives there. Enric Mas, 21 seconds. Bardet, 21. Yates, 29. Sepp Kuss, 41. So when the all hell broke loose, around 200 to go, you can just see Sepp. It was actually a little bit before that when the UAE rider, Rafa Micah, pulled off. That's kind of where Sepp he didn't go with all the action there. But just rides himself in for 10th place, losing 41 seconds. And we'll get to the full overall a little bit later here. Take a look at all the teams. So top 10, Vinigo in second, 35 seconds down. That's his time. He lost 9 seconds on the TT. He lost a few seconds today on the with the bonus seconds, a few seconds yesterday with bonus seconds as well, and then 20 some seconds or so for the cobbles. So that's just start adding up. Nelson Palace drops 6 places down to 8th. Pidcock is up there. Enric Mas, Martinez. So you've got Ineos with 3, 4, 7, and 10, and I think that's going to be their strategy. They can start sending guys maybe up the road in some of the big climbs. Danny Martinez, you let him go, you can't. You're going to have to chase him down because not on a day like today, Pogacar just put his team on the front and they drilled it. But a little different type of day where it's just more climbing and you got big mountain passes after big mountain passes. You might get Danny Martinez taken off. He's within striking distance. Now you got to chase that. Boom. Then you have Pidcock attack. So when you have these teams that are up there and they're able to kind of bunch themselves up, it's helpful. Tomorrow they end up going into Switzerland. You got some mountains here. It's not a big climby day, but you do have the finish here that goes up to the top here in Lucerne. It'll be interesting to see how they play this. I would think maybe UAE doesn't want to have to chase, and so they let a group go off. But if you have riders that are interested in trying to make it difficult, you never know what they're going to do at the end. So let's take a look at the results. Go to cycling stats, trusted, tried and true. And we've looked at those, but now we're going to do a breakdown by team because this is the best way for me to do it. Just walk through each team and you could get an idea of how their leaders have done. Parrot Pentre of Citron, he loses 1:15, so not a bad time there. Jungles though, but Ben O'Connor, he had a tough time. He was one of I mentioned Vlasov losing him, but Ben O'Connor lost contact before when riders were much better than him, and so he ends up 57th on the day. That's not good for him. We're not going to Alpecin. They have no one on the GC that we care about. Astana, Lutsenko, he was another one that lost. He loses a minute 34, which is right around where Nilsson Paulus, what he lost. But Lutsenko coming in had a lot more potential or hope than Nielsen did. B&B, they didn't really have anybody up there. Bahrain, so Dominic Caruso holds to 112. That's okay. Luis Leon Sanchez, he was having some trouble. Dylan Toynes, who had won this one in 2019, ends up losing 352 out of the break. He just kind of mailed it in there. As we know, Kamna, 14 seconds off for fourth place. Pretty disappointing for him, but what a fight. And it is interesting the contrast there because Vlasov ends up losing some time and loses 139. Not a great day for him either. He look, I think that 130 range losing today, especially when you can see how quick you saw Thomas, Roglic losing, 15, 20 seconds within a few hundred meters. So when a guy loses 134, he obviously gets popped earlier and then, still tries to do some work. I think that's somewhat respectable. Schachmann 334, but he did a lot of work for Kamna coming in today. Guillaume Martin loses 45 seconds. That's about as good as you're expecting him to do. It's probably what he's going to do most of the time. Iran loses 45 seconds, 12th place. Nielsen Palace, 19th place at 123. Like I said, not so bad considering the youngster and how he's doing, especially being out all day on stage 5. But I think that was a strategy that actually was probably more beneficial. Once again, he was able to pick his lines. He didn't have any traffic issues as far as or mechanicals. He didn't have to pick his way through traffic. So that might have been an actually easier day in a sense than you might be fighting and trying to scramble and chase. I don't know. Either way, pretty good for him. Groupama, David Gaudu is looking solid. Where's he at on the GC here? He is in 5th place. So 131 down. I mean, you can't fault David. He's looking pretty strong right now. Ineos, this is the ones with the got what 4 guys in the top 15 there. Pidcock, the lowest down. That was today's stage for GC. We already mentioned that. Guys in 4 in the top 10. But Geraint Thomas losing 14, Yates 29, Martinez 45. And this is just a different day. This is a unique day where the pitchy stuff it is just, it may be different when you have Alpe d'Huez as an example, where you have the switchbacks and a little bit more of a power climb, a little bit more because it's not in the 20%. So you see how some of those guys go. Louis mentions only loses 51 seconds, but he ran his bike across the finish line. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe he was a smart one. He would just get off and walk. I haven't seen guys DNF yet today, but I haven't been looking necessarily. Mike Woods, to me, this is a disappointing thing. And I'll go through an article here. He mentioned how today was kind of the start of his tour. He's going to go for the KOM stuff and stage win. So today's where he's been sitting in waiting. Okay, and then he loses 205, 348 to Chris Froome, former winner. Actually, not so bad. If you think about how poor he's been riding, it's sad that you think that a 41st place, almost 4 minutes down for Chris Froome is like a positive, but I kind of see it as a positive in a sense. Whoops, that's tomorrow's stage. Let's go back here. Okay, so we had, then let's go to Jumbo. We know what happened there. Jonas. So, once again, Jonas is 35 seconds. Roglic, 13th place at 245. I see Roglic moving up day after day after day and probably staying within 3-4 minutes, getting maybe holding his own on the time trial and being in the top 5 or so. If he's losing traction, so Brian Zimney chimes in, losing traction on 20% grade dirt. It might be faster to run than it is. Yeah. Clip back in. I don't know. I'm assuming he unclipped. And so it was just a smart thing for him to do that. Sometimes when you're riding, you had decent shoes. It might actually be better to get up and run in general. But maybe not. Lotto Soudal, Philippe Gilbert, 40-year-old, 14 minutes back. That's the best day. Enric Mas coming in 145. Oh, this is the GC. 145. Let's go back. No, we don't need to go back there. And 21 seconds off today. Matteo Jorgensen moves to 738. He's just a helper B. This guy. Quick Step has Matteo Catania. He go uphill well, surprisingly, but not no one. Nairo Quintana loses 51 seconds, holds himself fairly decent. Barguil came off early for him. It was within the last 3K, I think, as a little smiley to the camera. So I think he was doing fine. Bike Exchange, Luke Durbridge was in that break and then ended up losing his 5 minutes. DSM, Roman Bardet looking good, losing 21 seconds, but I think that's solid. When you lose that 20-second once again, with him and Roglic was all in the last, 20 meters or 200 meters. Kevin Vermaelen losing 6:20 down there. Chris Hamilton hanging in. He's a worker bee. Total Energy. Pierre Latour losing 3:13. They don't have any shot for anybody. Totally Galloping 2:09. Ciccone just once again being in the break and then just bailing it in 16:30. So yikes. And then UAE. We know Pogacar, Rafa Micah, Brendan McNulty, and George Bennett coming in at 3:19. 3:19. There were guys working hard to do 3:19, and these two guys probably just mailed it in after doing all their work. Really impressed with the combo there. And I think I've been watching George Bennett just kind of sit up the last few. I mean, if you look at the GC here, he's going to be, I think, 16 minutes. So my thought was, he's not needed. Like even yesterday, he wasn't really needed. Brandon McNulty was up there. Rafa Michael was needed. And then you're going to save George Bennett for the higher mountains. And, you got a few, many weeks. Well, 2 weeks here still to go. Okay. Let's go to, we could preview tomorrow's stage. We already did, but maybe we'll get a little better view as to the climbs here. So you got your Cat 1. Few kilometers there. The shorter one, the Cat 4, it's 6/10 of a kilometer. This one's 6.7, the Côte de Ressus, so that's going to be a little bit more brutal, but not super steep. The finishing climb, though, up to the finish line, it's 4.5, almost 5 kilometers. Got some pitches in there, some respite, but it doesn't ever go into the black on this route here. So you're not looking with a 4.5%. That might just be a streamer. Kind of a fast power guy. I think Philip Bogana. No, he's not gonna. He's got work to do. He's not interested in stuff for himself. Which reminds me, I need to revamp my fantasy team because I always forget about it until the next day. And I have a bunch of guys that were valid for the first few weeks or first week. It's mostly the Copenhagen stuff or the stuff in Denmark. So I need to ditch some of these people. I did have Kamna. Up there and Pogacar. So those two helped me a little bit today, but some other people are killing me. All right, let's take a few news articles, and then we're done. And we'll maybe join in, see what happens tomorrow in the next few days. Mike Woods, Planche de Belfi is my day. My Tour de France starts. Starting Friday, the opportunities keep coming thick and fast. I'm really excited to try to get into the break and tackle stages. Friday is day 1 for me at the Tour. Planche de Belfi is typically won by the breakaway, so I'm hoping that I can infiltrate the breakaway and see if I can challenge for the win. But there are quite a few opportunities out there after that. So in the end of the world, it's not the end of the world if I don't make the break. It's the first day at climbers are target. Okay, so maybe this is a situation. He doesn't make the break. He stays up there. He feels his climbing legs. He's like maybe good, maybe bad, and then he just pulls the plug. Woods lost 2 minutes. Froome, I mentioned that earlier, Brian. So I'm more impressed with Froome only losing 3:48 than Woods losing 2. But I'm just walking through here, and if he's got stage hunting on his mind, then he's not going to try to hang with the GC guys. Sit up, just feel your legs out, do some good, and then just kind of do 2 minutes. And for him, this was a super steep one. This should have been right up his alley. But he's got some. Maybe he's just tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow's where he's looking for. Any other articles? Probably not. I think that's where we'll end it. So tomorrow, once again, cool. Let's look at the next few days, though. I think we have a rest day coming next Monday. We'll go to the Tour de France website here. Route. Okay, so there's today's things. So you got Pogacar. He's all excited. He won tomorrow into Lucerne. 186. They say hilly. That's Saturday, Sunday. Where's that one? There we go. Sunday's some decent climbing stuff as well. A Cat 4, 2, 1, and 1. So we've got some interesting times coming up here. I'm excited for it. And then I think, one of my favorite websites that's no longer around, or at least they're not updating it, is steephill.tv. And I always liked his breakdowns of how it was much easier for me to navigate the big ones because he put a little, anyway. So Saturday, that Sunday, and then there's a rest day on Monday. And then we start moving over Albertville on Wednesday to Col de Granon. then the Thursday is Alpe d'Huez. So less than a week, we're going to be up at Alpe d'Huez, and then hitting over in the Pyrenees. We've got Hautacam, Périgord, Foix, solid. And then the Triple T on the Saturday, 40K time trial. That's where you're going to have trouble for some of these guys because they're not going to really know what to do with the 40K time trial. 2000, I want to say 19, 18 or something like that. 18, I think it was, when Tomblaine won the Giro, and they had a long time trial, and Nairo was in the lead. And yeah, we know what happened. Tomblaine won the Tour de France that year. That's exactly how that went. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a good weekend. Get out on the bike, have some fun. I'm in the office. I'm dressed up. It's what, 10, almost 11. I'm about ready to bail it in. Call it a day. That's how I do it. Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 253. Should we bring some guests on? Maybe have some people on the show this next week? I don't know. Yeah.